Hi everyone, Lori Whitlock here. Today I'm going to show you my new Irish shutter cards that are A2 sized. Last week I introduced a bunch of 5x7 shutter cards, and this is how they work. You just pull on the little lever and it opens up the little window, and there's a sentiment or a little image in each one. This one says, "Let's celebrate, happy birthday to you." These are so cute and so much fun. So I'm going to teach you how to put these together. Last week I taught a method that had some little clips inside of the circle that you wrap around those shutters to keep them in position. This week we're going to do a new method. It's a little bit easier, but you'll notice that there's just a little more give in this shutter mechanism, but that's okay. It still works beautifully from closed to open. Just make sure you don't pull out on it too much as you're opening and closing it. So these files will be available in my SVG shop. I'm going to go back and modify my older files so that the little clips are no longer in the file for the outside, and we'll be stabilizing it with some outer clips for our shutter mechanism. This one's cute. It says, "I hope you have a special day," and it says, "Hippo birthday to you." So cute. On the back of each of these, there's a little panel that you can tuck into the four corners. It covers up that mechanism, gives you a place to write a sentiment. But if you'd like to apply the entire card to the front of a 5x7 or 4¼ by 5½ card base, you certainly can. Just as you're gluing that on, make sure that you only put adhesive out here on this outer edge and don't get into the mechanism area. On the 4¼ by 5½, there's a little bit less room to work. On the 5x7, you have just a little bit more room, wiggle room around there for the adhesive. So you wouldn't need to apply this, well actually you would, you'd need this sentiment in there. I would go ahead and tuck it into the corner so it gets in the right position, but you can see these open up to reveal really cute little graphics on some of them, and a lot of them have phrases in them. So fun. So this one I experimented with using the clips and the outer clips that we're going to use on these, and it works really well, but some people are having trouble with those breaking, or maybe they're catching in the glue dots that they're using. We're also modifying the design to have some mini brads in them. So I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll probably go ahead and include the file with the clips and without the clips for the card front. So you'll have one with just a solid circle cut. Then you don't have to mess with those clips. But if you want to get a little more advanced and you want to try using those clips as well as the outer clips, you certainly can. It really helps to stabilize that mechanism in there. Have a novel birthday. So cute. That'd be great for like a book lover. Hope you have a splendid day. This one's a darling birthday cake with a happy birthday, and I hope you have a special day. And we have a birthday present and happy birthday. Hope you have a special day. So these are a lot of fun to put together. They're really stunning when they're all done, and I think you'll like this new method a little bit better. It just is a little bit easier to put together, and since there's so many moving parts in here, I'm just trying to simplify it the very best that I can for you guys. But I will say that this is definitely a more advanced card. So if you're new to card making, I wouldn't choose this for your very first card. Make sure you have plenty of time to play with this. Maybe expect your first one to be a trial and to have it down by your second or third card. So I've used some double-sided sticky tape to put on the back side of our new little clips, and I've only put that, adhered that from the score line to the rounded edge, the one that concaves, curves in, and I've done that to all three of these. And the reason I wanted to use double stick tape is I wanted it coated fully so that it doesn't leave any room for anything to catch on these. So that's what I've used that for. I've also just got some regular adhesive. I'm going to set that to the side. There's a pick-me-up tool. It's super handy for picking up the little pieces that you have to put in place. And a little spatula. This is really super helpful for getting into those corners to put this piece on the back. You don't have to use anything like this. You could certainly use just a pen or something to get under there. I have our print and cut pieces ready to go. I just use the print and cut function on my silhouette. You can also use the Cricut to do that as well. I've used some mini brads. I got these at Hobby Lobby. I just need 4 of those, and they can be any color. They really don't show. I'm going to use a color that you'll be able to see on the video today. We have our tiny little arrow. I have already gone ahead and assembled our donut. You'll want to refer to the picture. It's kind of like a puzzle on the back side of this. You've got some puzzle, a large piece, and then some places where the puzzle kind of fits together, and then you need to rotate all of that to fit so it fits behind the right sprinkles. So reference the photo on that. It works really nicely once you're done though. You don't have to glue all those tiny little dots in place. So you'll just have to make sure you get your puzzle put together right. So that's what that donut's gonna look like. And let's go ahead and start putting this together. This is our front of our card. This is our back of our card. And when they go together, you're gonna have the little handle up here in the top right-hand corner. That's where your lever is gonna be. So just make sure you're working with that in the right position. And this is the top piece. This is gonna be the inside of the back because this is our actual back of the card. So make sure you just lay that piece down, and that's how we're gonna be working with it. So let's put together our shutter mechanism. The first thing we need to do is take our little stabilizing tabs and remove the adhesive liner off of the back of those. And we're going to adhere those just to the right of the curve on this first tab here at the bottom, and just line up the circle curvature with this little tab piece. And that's going to fold over our whole mechanism and kind of hold that in place and glue to the front of our card base. So again, you'll just fold that little tab up and remove the liner here on the back. And that should have a nice coating of adhesive so that this stays down completely. And we'll just line that up right next to this next tab on the outer curve. Make sure you don't go on the other side of the little holes, or else you'll have a problem. Your mechanism won't work. We'll just do our last tab, and we'll glue that in place here. Okay, we don't want to put any adhesive on these little tabs until our shutter is ready to go, because they'll just get in the way. So I'm going to rotate this back to where I have my C up here in my top right corner, and I'm just going to start with my shutter pieces and insert those into one of the slits and just make sure it slides, and then just line that right up with the curve here. It doesn't have to be precise. Like I said, I'm not using any washi tape to hold things in place this time. Our brads are going to make sure everything goes in perfect position. You'll have to look under that first one and place the last one in place. So those are just kind of overlapping each other. I'm going to rotate that to the position again with the C in the top right corner. And I'm going to take my Q piece, and I am going to put that little handle right up here where it's going to be closed, but you'll notice it's open. So I need to rotate that back one set of dots, and this is the position I'm going to install the Q. So I'm going to just lift up that first little shutter piece and put my brad in the hole on the top of the Q and insert it through the hole on the shutter piece, and just open that brad up nice and flat. And you want to make sure that gets opened all the way, because you don't want it to catch on anything. So just make sure it's nice and tight. And let's just rotate right around and do the next hole on the Q and on the shutter piece below. And we'll open that brad up nice and tight. You might even want to kind of lift it up and hyperextend those just a tiny bit. Okay, and on to the next hole and shutter piece. Now, when you're done with this card, you might need to rotate the orientation of these brads, but you'll be able to do that from the back little slits. I'll show you when we're done. If you're having any trouble with those catching on anything, that could be the issue. Once you get these moving though, they work really nicely. And because these are now metal brads, they're not going to come loose like glue dots potentially could. So we can test our shutter mechanism. You can see that it closes and that it opens beautifully. I'm going to leave it in the open position, and now I'm ready to glue my card together. So those tabs are going to fold over the Q, and they're going to glue to the card front. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little adhesive on each of those, and you don't want to get any adhesive right around the Q mechanism. We're just going to put it right around the edges of the card and on those 3 tabs. If you get it anywhere else, it can make the card too tight and it doesn't want to function properly. You'll also want to make sure that those tabs stay outside of the Q and don't get bound up inside of the mechanism there. Now, on the A2 size, there's not a lot of extra room along the edges, and you don't want to get into the areas where the corners are, because that's where your little piece is going to tuck on the back of your card. So just make sure you keep your adhesive nice and neat and hug it close to the edge. I actually am leaving some on the table. If you need to reopen your card to get back in there too, this is super helpful not to have it too much adhesive there, just the right amount. I'll have to clean my table when I'm done. Okay, so I just put adhesive on those 3 sides. I'm not putting any on the lever side. You could put a tiny bit right in here if you want to, but it doesn't really need it. So you're just gonna have to be really careful. Notice how this one's trying to go inside of my Q. I'll need to make sure that's on the outside of the Q. And as I lay this down, this is probably the trickiest part, just making sure that everything lines up properly and that those tabs go right where I want them to go. So I'm just gonna line up the top edge first and my C area. And then I'm gonna peek under here and make sure my tab lays down, and I just will lay my card front right down on that. Same thing with the side tab here, making sure that that attaches to the card front in the proper way. So there is our card fully assembled. Let's test it out. So our shutter opens and closes beautifully. That's great. If for some reason you're having any troubles, you can flip it over and take a look at your little brads here. Make sure they're not catching on any of those holes. If you do need to, you could use a little pin or something to rotate those brads around if they're catching on the paper. But if you've opened them up nicely, they really shouldn't catch. And like I said, make sure you don't get any adhesive anywhere other than those 3 tabs and right around the edges. Okay, very beautiful. So now we're going to go ahead and put our donut on. Like I mentioned, I've already pretty much assembled that. I'm going to put just a little more adhesive on this side that is open where I showed you inside of it. Make sure that looks nice. And this should fit right over that hole on the front. You could use tape runner, or I'm using my little precision tip glue bottle with some liquid adhesive in it. I'll just glue that right on the front of my card base. And we have our insert for the back. I'll just flip that over and just tuck this. And you want to make sure it's oriented the correct way. I do not know what I would do without you. Just make sure it's facing the correct way. And if you need a little help getting into those corners, you can use a little pin, or this spatula works really well. It's kind of like a shoehorn. Uh-oh, one slipped out. Well, 2 of them. Once you get that in there, it's nice and tight, and it shouldn't give you any troubles once they're all in. Okay, let's test it out. I do not know what I would do without you. So cute. Let's flip that over. I'm going to use a little tape runner. And we'll just put this, "You mean the whole world to me." You could put this on the front as well. It's just a cute little extra saying. You can write your sentiment here. Again, you could attach it to a card base if you would like. Let's take our little pick-me-up tool and grab our arrow, and we're just going to glue that right here on the side. Oops. Okay, so now your card is all done. You have your little arrow, you have your little sentiment in place, and these cards are so cute and so much fun. I hope you enjoy making these. I hope that you find this new method a lot easier to put these together. And if you make some of these, please feel free to share them on our Facebook page. Leave us some comments and notes. Let me know how they work for you. If you do have any trouble with that internal mechanism, you can always pull your card apart and look inside and see if there's something that might be catching. But once you get those working, they work very well. So I hope you have a great day, and we will see you guys in another video. Bye-bye.